worse than for you.
No, but yeah, I know. I'm saying I watched him about to score too. I'm like, yeah. Oh, what just happened? Oh,
yeah. And this league is so crazy from week to week. I mean, the Giants go from starting 0-2. People are calling them maybe the worst team in all of the football, and then all of a sudden they score 35 points a game over the next 3 games, and yesterday they get shut out. And you know how hard it is to get a shutout in the National Football League today.
Yeah.
Between, all the passing and all the penalties. You figure you get a pass interference call, you're down there, you at least kick a field goal. So that tells you how badly they were struggling yesterday. And again, it all stemmed from the poor offensive line play, but losing the best receiver isn't going to help things for them going forward.
No, and let's just go right there, talking about those teams. Looking at Philly, highest scoring team in football, 183 points scored so far. Matter of fact, I think they're at least 20 points higher than the next closest team even. I mean, we know what they've been doing. But there they sit, 5-1 atop the NFC East with Dallas, who went to Seattle and took care of business yesterday, man. And now at 5-1, and after that, do you start to believe that Dallas, I mean, we talked about DeMarco Murray last week, but clearly they've got something going on there now after dropping the opener 5 in a row and the exclamation point being yesterday's win over the Seahawks?
Yeah, I mean, my power poll is coming out on tomorrow, but I'm seriously thinking about putting the Cowboys number 1. And, they have been the best team in football. And I know a lot of people don't want to believe that, and I'm shocked that it's happening. But they are playing tremendous football. It all starts with DeMarco Murray, as we talked about. He's the MVP of this league through 6 weeks. There's no question about that. The offensive line has been the best in all of football. And that defense, if you think about where that defense has come from, they were 32nd in the NFL last year, dead last, with Sean Lee, their best defensive player, with DeMarcus Ware, with Jason Hatcher. All those guys are gone. Orlando Scandrick, the best cornerback, was suspended for a while. All those guys, and, they're infinitely better. So you have to give Rod Marinelli, the defensive coordinator down there, a ton of credit for putting together not only a competent defense, but one which went up to Seattle, the toughest place to play in the National Football League. Russell Wilson, 19-1 there before yesterday, and they held them to, I think, 126 passing yards. And that, again, that is a Cowboys defense that was ranked 32nd, dead last, without Ware, without Lee, without Hatcher, and they're still performing at that level. If there was an assistant coach of the year, I would give that award to Rod Marinelli, and second, by the way, would be Scott Linehan, who calls the plays on offense. So I think a real improvement in coaching has helped the Cowboys immensely this year.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what else can you say? And I wouldn't blame you putting them near the top there, man. Whether you went 1, 2, however you did it, what the actual number was, because they have, and that's what's been so surprising. The defense. I mean, they were dead last and losing guys, and I don't know, man, but it all adds up to whatever's in the sauce there. Jerry Jones is feeling good about himself here today. Hey, speaking about feeling good about himself, but maybe not about the teammates. And I got an issue. I'm sure I can't be the only one here that's bitching about this here this morning. But let's go to the North, the Browns division here. Cincinnati, they go to the tie with Carolina, 37-37. And here's Pacman Jones after the game throwing his kicker under the bus. And I understand. Hey, listen. I get even behind the scenes hey, man, everybody's got to do their job. But come on, man, you cannot publicly just diss your kicker like that, and especially you, who has been through all that you've been through and done, and not been as teammates and organizations and other things. But I mean, so a lot of people could have took pot shots at you that didn't. But I'm not a fan of that, especially when last I checked, I said this earlier in the show, you didn't lose the game. First off, you didn't lose a game where your defense held the other team to 3 points and the offense and the special teams let you down. Y'all gave up 37 points. So let's not act like it's the end of the world that the kicker missed a field goal at the end of the game, Mike Nugent, and you ended up with that tie.
Yeah, I mean, you never want to have your players call each other out. That's never a good thing. It's never going to a good place. But you know how you've been around long enough to know how players think about kickers and the whole aspect, especially in today's game. To miss a 36-yarder.
No, I got you on that. But if he gets burned,
field goal.
If he gets burned,
but yeah, it's not Adam Jones's place. To do that, and I think it's hopefully when he talks to the media, either today apologize and say it's not my place, I shouldn't have done that, and kind of temper it and pull it back a little bit. But that's what happens on Sundays, especially in a game where frustrations and you're frustrated immediately after. You think about it. I mean, there's a 10-minute cooling off period after an NFL game, and then the locker rooms are open, and that's when you see most of the frustration boil over. And as the season goes on, you'll see it a lot. But you saw it with Gerald McCoy yesterday in Tampa. You'll see it a lot, especially the bad teams. Guys start pointing fingers, and they look at people who aren't doing their jobs, and they can't help themselves. But as a whole, and especially a team like Cincinnati, which is, still a pretty significant playoff contender despite the last 2 weeks, you never want to see it with them, and I'm sure Marvin Lewis will be addressing it at least behind the scenes.
I do. I as a fellow AFC North resident, I hope that they get some chemistry issues there, and they get some bad chicken in the soup, as they say, or something.
Well, they might cut their kicker.
Well, yeah, I mean, you never know what's going to happen with that whole. And I know what you're saying. I mean, that was a little bit longer than an extra point. I was going to say it was a freaking extra point, but still, I mean, yeah, you don't want to end it like that. But when I heard that, but you know what? I saw, and I didn't hear it for myself, but I saw in an article that he did a radio interview and had a chance they gave him the chance to back off what he said, and he just reinforced what he said even worse and said, look, he's my guy. I'm not trying to pick on him, but he's got to do his job just like I got to do my job. And I hear that, but at the same time, it's bad form, but whatever. Looking around too, a couple of the injuries around. Darren Sproles banged up in that same game where we were talking about the Giants and Cruz there. So it's going to be at least a couple of weeks there. Do you have any word on Sproles and where he's at?
MCL, so the Eagles dodged a bullet there because he's been a key component to the team, both on offense and special teams. And you talked about the Eagles leading the league in scoring. A lot of that has come from return touchdowns, not only on special teams but defense. The Eagles had 7 return touchdowns in the first 5 weeks of the season, which is tied an NFL record that dated back to the 1920s. So they haven't been doing it in conventional ways until last night when that offense, got going a little bit against the Giants. But it's been the special teams, block punts, returns by Sproles, returns by Chris Polk. And Sproles almost broke another one yesterday at a 43-yard punt return that he was one player away from breaking it again. So he's been, if not the best all-season acquisition, certainly amongst the top 3 or 4. So the Eagles dodged a big bullet there.
Yeah, he's definitely the main backup there, but behind McCoy. And then another one that could see some some impact here, depending on what it is. Stevan Ridley, do you have anything on him as far as, I know he was supposed to have an MRI this morning, but since I got on the air, I haven't had any chance to check and see, but they're worried and holding their breath that it's going to be significant there. And of course you've got Vereen as the backup and Bolden, a couple other guys there, but Ridley's their guy, and that could be something as the Patriots continue to try to get themselves going.
Yeah, it's not official yet, but the Patriots are not all that hopeful. It's looking like a torn ACL, so it's most likely he's going to be gone for the season. And they also lost Gerard Mayo, so they could have taken some two. We'll see with him, but they're also not hopeful with that. But it's just two more injuries, as you mentioned. It seems to be. We always talk about this every year. It seems more and more to me this year. The injuries themselves are not up, but the names. It's bigger name players that have been going down. And we just talked about it in Cleveland. You'll see it today with the Patriots, and it's this league's about depth, and you, to a certain degree, you just hope you don't lose too many key players. And who's ever the healthiest at the end amongst the contenders is often the favorite.
For sure, And you know what, speaking of who's the favorite, looking at just the scores here, doing a look around the league, something that we've mentioned, and last week we kind of got into it a bit, making the point that more than ever, the NFL, it's not about your records coming into the games, it's about the two specific teams, how they match up that week on a week-to-week basis, and we're seeing that a lot here as you look at some of these games. I mean, here, even, San Diego and Oakland, that thing comes down to it. You look, think about Atlanta, by the way, the Falcons. Is there a team in the NFL more they could show up and look like they should just be, a Super Bowl contender, and then they can show up the next week and just look like they don't have anything going for themselves? Atlanta's been maddeningly inconsistent.
Yeah, and I think Mike Smith's in trouble there. Yesterday was the real, flag because, they've never been a great road team out of that dome, but they've been dominant
at home
until yesterday inside, and they didn't have anything going. So it's not over for them because the NFC South isn't nearly as difficult as we all thought it was going to be. But, if they continue going in the wrong direction, I think Mike Smith is going to be one of those guys on a significant hot seat. And, you're right. I mean, offensively, you look at all the weapons they have, and the fact that they were only able to put up what they did against Chicago, which is not a very good defense these days, in Atlanta. That's a red flag for that team.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
And you mentioned those wins and losses, and we constantly say, when you look at the schedule, everybody plays that win and loss game, and it's not who you play, it's when you play them. Perfect example of that is the Dallas Cowboys, because I guarantee everybody who had them on the schedule said that's a win, and all of a sudden, look at the Cowboys. So it's no use looking ahead, and except at the week you're in. But we all do it, and we're all guilty of it. But you just never know, and the Cowboys have proven that this year.
Yeah, I mean, here Dallas is 5-1. Seattle and Cleveland are both 3-2. I mean, you look around and exactly, it's like you said. Just speaking of how about Aaron Rodgers? How about the end of that game there yesterday? I wanted to ask you about that.
Well, speaking about another coach on the hot seat, Joe Philbin was Aaron Rodgers' offensive coordinator in Green Bay before he left for Miami. If anybody knew not to give him the ball at the end of the game, it should have been Joe Philbin. And the Dolphins are facing the 3rd and 7, and he decided to run clock and just run straight up the middle and give the ball back to Aaron Rodgers. Now, there's no guarantee you're going to get a 3rd and 7, but if you're playing Aaron Rodgers and you have the football and the chance to run out the clock, you better go for the first down. And if you don't get it, fine. But you can't just give him the ball back. And if anyone knows that, it should have been Joe Philbin. So there's another coach who, in my mind, that alone was a fireable offense. And you add to all the difficulties they had off the field last year, I think Joe Philbin's in some serious trouble in Miami.
And when you said, we mentioned it here, just talk about the difference in the Browns. When you talk about how when some teams just find ways to lose. Look at that final drive there for Green Bay, a fumble, a 4th and 10, and all of that. You know what I mean? And then you fake this spike and you get the touchdown. And I mean, but that's just, some teams find ways to win and some